of a band. He's a punk guy, wearing too many jewelry for his own good. But apart from that, on a serious note, Mr. Shomprakash is a technical consultant at Dell International Services, and he's currently residing in Bangalore. He belongs to a generation of infant adults, and he grew up reading J.K. Rowling. The concepts of magic and good literature seem pretty close by definition, and by the time he stumbled upon the works of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and he got steadily inspired by a racing breed of authors in India. Ladies and gentlemen, for the rock star of the evening, Shomprakash, can we have a huge round of applause? As a chief guest, I'd like you to speak a few words before you unveil the book. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Saket Jalan for you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Saket Jalan, and the coincidence that happened with Shomprakash, he came to my store. I have a co-store in Bangalore in musical instrument, and he became his fan. And the meeting was supposed to happen for say 30 seconds or 10 seconds. I suppose it lasted about 2 hours or so. And I became his fan. And the reason for becoming his fan is he was as an author, and I called him a daughter, and I asked my daughter is 13 years old, and I asked him like, why don't you mentor her? And she wants to write the book. I have written a book, but it never got published. Why I liked him is the people who are going to own the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis are the authors of today. Because it's not there. There's no young authors in India which is there. Not there. So suddenly you see the rise of the people reading the books, understanding what is happening across the world. If you read the culture of the US, there are more and more. I'm motivated. Why don't you write the book on the rise and fall of Vijay Mallya? That's not there. Or the success story of Naran Murthy. Those are one of the inspiration which I always thought about. I don't know how many books I've read. I read all kinds of fiction, non-fiction, but when I see young people writing the books, I get surprised the kind of minds and the kind of thinking processes they're bringing into the mind, the kind of watch they keep on the people. It's mind blowing, and it's a pleasure for me that Shomo invited me over here, Landmark invited me over here to launch his book, and my family is not in the town. I will call my family, and my daughter will definitely be a nice moment for her, that his dad never used. I've written the book, but I've never got able to publish the book. So I'm more of a financial background. I used to remember when I was there young and I would come to the bookstore. So whether it is a Landmark or other competitor bookstore, they allow you to read free of books inside the store. I do not know how many books I've read inside the store free of cost, never paid anything. But today I feel honored that I'm there in the store and I'm reading a book for him. Coming back to the Pink Smoke, I've not read the book. I manage the students in Bangalore. I don't know if people have heard about Jain Guru Institution. I'm a part of the board member, the trustee over there. So I hope that we, as a representative of the college, on their students' birthday, we give them the books. So he already has an offer of at least 150 books I'm going to order from him, from the Landmark.
I think that calls for the crowd of applause.
And that will motivate Shom to write more and more books. I think he should write it every 6 months. Every 6 months, and all kinds of books. For the old people, for the young people, the people who are not born in this world, varieties of books, and people should be there in the queue, and I hope I see a huge inspiration that he is going to make it. My moment with him for 3 hours, it was like so smooth and so motivating and so learning for me that I said I can do anything for you, and let us make your dreams and make it very, very big in the future. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great news that he says that he gets motivated by the mentee. I have Mr. Ashish here. That parents complain that friends are bad influences, but I say friends are the family you get to choose. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Mr. Ashish I'd like you to say a few words on the first launch of your friend's book. Can we have a big round of applause as Mr. Ashish takes the mic?
Thank you guys. I would like to say one instance that happened in Landmark itself. I think it was the first year, right? First year we were like new friends at that time, and we were hostel. We were living hostels, so we were roommates. So he came to Landmark and he was seeing all those books and he said, one day देखना भाई मेरा भी किताब होगा यहाँ पे. I still remember that day, and when he called me and said that my book is going to be published, then I said that you finally achieved your dream. And this guy has struggled a lot, I'm telling you here, he's struggled a lot. He's seen a lot of bad days, finally to be here. So that's why I made a point to be with him, because I have been with him in all the bad days. So finally a good day has come in his life and I'm there.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That's what our friends were. They did not judge you. They stand by you, whether there are roses or there are tomatoes thrown at you. Okay, now to the rock star of the evening, Mr. Shomprakash. Can we have a huge round of applause as he takes the mic?
Before I begin, I see a lot of people walking around. Some of you, I noticed you taking a glance. If you could please join us with the crowd. Take a seat, please.
I request a lot of people who are behind the scenes to please come down, sit down. Your presence means a lot to all of us here. To please sit down. So, can you please continue?
Yeah. So I have people around me. Some of the most significant faces that I've seen, including Ashish, thanks for the words, and Mr. Jalan, thanks for being here. So he has said a lot of things, and it's his greatness that he called our conversation, the way he referred to our conversation. It was more of me being a timid guy, a 22-year-old guy approaching a man of his stature, trying to get him to read my book, which was a humbling experience for me, and at the same time a great learning experience. So I thank you, sir, for coming here. I thank all of my friends. I thank my little sister for being here. And like Ashish said, Landmark was the place where we used to come. Not just me, not just him. We had a couple of guys. Some of them got caught in the Bangalore rain today, I guess. They'll be missed. We used to walk around these stores, and Landmark used to be on the bottom floor. No, not over here, the one below. And there were these dark corners, right? We had spongy seats. We used to take them to the corner, sit down. Like he said, I did that as well. I used to grab a couple of books and start reading. I didn't have a lot of money back then, so pocket money was limited. And I used to sit down and finish books over there, books by Archer, books by Sheldon, everything new that came along. It was kind of expensive for my pocket. And we used to finish that and then walk out of the store. And somewhere down the line, I figured out that I wasn't the only one reading books. There were people like me who wanted to read, who wanted to have another outlet other than what we generally see in our own lives. We have friends, we have college, we have education, some of us work. And the kind of outlets that you get in order to release whatever that you accumulate in your head is very important. It's not just the people that you speak to. It's the kind of things that you take in as an input, the movies that you watch, the books that you read. I'm coming back to books down and down because, yes, this is about books. So, a book was an outlet for me, and I wanted to get more into the process of creating that outlet, which is why I thought, hey, let's try and give a shot at writing. And I was inspired, like she correctly pointed out, by a lot of people, by Mr. Datta and by Mr. Garg, who have been my mentors since the time I went ahead with the process of this publication. And I was inspired by Mr. Bhagat, who I said was one man who wanted to inspire change. That was another reason why I wanted to write, to inspire change from a lot of shackles that I saw around myself. The way society behaves, the way people treat you, the way somebody in authority looks down upon you. If you want to speak up against that, if you had a platform for letting people know how you felt about that, it would be great, right? For me, a book, a blog, something as simple as a piece of paper became that outlet. I used to write down my thoughts. I tried to stay clear of being a cynic, but somewhere down the line, I feel I still am. And I'm in the process of witnessing that change. It's an elusive word. I don't see that change happening around me all the time, but I'm hoping that it happens someday. And maybe that's the purpose of all of this. That's why any of this is happening. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I have my friends here. That's about it. Thanks, Ashish.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. If I have to subsequently put it, then his words are going to be mightier than the sword. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, can I have everybody standing up so that, ladies and gentlemen, can we all stand up so that we can have the book launch? I request Mr. Jalani, the chief guest, to please unveil the book. Can we have a huge round? Okay, Mr. Jalan, I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing your... Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause as we see the book launch of Deep Pink Smoke by Mr. Shomprakash. Let's make it to the numbers and let's give him a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, that's the book. The Pink Smoke. Yes. A moment for photo op. Hi. Can I have a pen? Alright, there you go. The first inscription of the first book to be launched. Can we have another big round of applause? Thank you for your gracious presence and the encouragement. Thank you. So please sit down. Please sit down. Hi. Shomprakash, I'd like you to stand up. Talk about your book. What's the book all about? I don't want to read out from this paper and say it's your essence, it's your book, it's your emotion. So first please introduce what's the book all about, and then please talk about your experiences, why you were writing this book. It might be your writer's block, it might be the frustration of getting it printed. I want the story to come out of your heart, and I'm sure all of us want to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, our author, Mr. Shomprakash, talking his heart out on the book launch. There you go.
Right, so about the pink smoke, the blurb says some stuff about the book. It talks about a guy called Sid, and it says that his life is messed up. Now, if you want to understand what the book is about, you need to ask yourself who Sid is. I could go down an edge and say that I am Sid, but I would be lying. The reason we call books fiction is because we believe in the fact that made-up stories can matter. This is a semi-autographic adventure, but it's inspired by events that happened with me, the things that I saw happening to other people, the things that happen all over in colleges. How many of us are in colleges right now? I know you're in college. And I was an engineering student, which is a big tragedy, right? Biggest tragedy if there ever was. And I chose engineering because I somehow related myself to the word technology. And I thought, hey, my dad thought, hey, it's a good idea to make him an engineer because I was an engineer. And we see so many engineers all around us. Engineers do well in life, right? And he said, we'll send you to Bangalore. To be honest, I was more in love with the city itself than the idea of being an engineer. I've been to the city a couple of times before and I really liked what's there not to like about Bangalore? You like everything about Bangalore. The weather, the people that you see around yourself, the kind of places where you can go. And it was all new to me. I embraced that. And then I made a split-second choice of choosing PES School of Engineering as my college when the counseling session came up. And as later we discussed, I could have chosen anything else. I mean, we had a couple of options. We had like 250 colleges in Bangalore. And I chose PES. I met this guy. And I met a few other people who sort of put a spin on my life, the way I would look at things forever and ever, for all eternity. That's what happened in PES, School of Engineering. I was confused as you can imagine yourself to be as a first year student in an alien environment. And I discovered things which led to happiness. And that's a very shallow way of putting it across. But I discovered ways of making myself happy, keeping myself distracted from everything that I was usually thinking about. My future, for example, was put on a backstand. I did not want to think about what I want to become in life, what I want to achieve in life. The pros and cons of being a good and bad engineer at the same time took a backseat. I wanted to smoke. I wanted to go for parties. I wanted to live the good life.
Totally.
And once that started happening, once I started getting the hang of that, I went deeper into it. So my book talks about what happens when a guy tries to challenge the limits of the good life. When he tries to get into as much pleasure that he can try and derive out of life without really thinking about the consequences. And life backfires at you. It eventually happens. You don't count on it to come back and bite you, but it happens. You can't really expect to go ahead and do everything off head and expect things to go all hunky-dory with you. So that never happened with me. I had my share of bad luck. I had my share of authority talking down upon me. And I had my share of fights with said authority. And when that happened, other people got involved. People who were close to me. People who really care about me. My parents, for instance. Your parents are somebody you really don't think about in a good sense unless they come up to your rescue. When your parents turn into the 11th Samaritan, that's when you start believing the fact that, yes, they are in fact your parents. They're supposed to take care of you. That happened. My parents drove into town. They tried to get me out of the mess that I put myself in. I saw my mom crying for some reason which was very new. It wasn't something that I had seen before, not at least not because of me. I saw that happening. And I went back to my hometown, came back to Bangalore, did the same shit all over, did the same stuff all over again. And I realized life can get into a rut if you do not choose to take a stand. When you do take a stand, it has to be for the right cause. It cannot be for an interim decision. It cannot be an idea of changing yourself or changing the way you think halfway through. There's no halfway crook, there's no halfway good guy. If you're supposed to do the good guy act, you're supposed to go all the way. You're supposed to turn your life around. And there are sacrifices that you put into it. It's not an easy task. You don't just, you're not just the Mr. Bad Boy one day, and you don't just wake up and turn up into the good guy the other. You don't redo yourself as easily as you might imagine it to be. It's a process. I think you might agree with me. And that process is, that process itself is what I have liked to call life so far. That's been my experience. The Big Smoke is the first installment of that experience. It talks about what happened the first time I came to Bangalore, what I saw, the people that I met, what were the exact things that I did that led to the good life which I mentioned earlier. The people who influenced my thoughts, as she said, the importance of having friends. I had 2 friends, which is a really sucky number. But if I think about it, I had 2 good friends. One of them who has the fortune of sitting here with me. The other one, I'm sure he's looking down on me right now. May God rest his soul. And those 2 people taught me different things about life. Saahil Khurana, the person who can't be with us right now, he was one man who taught me the importance of enjoying or living in the present, as we call it. He said it's important to enjoy every moment of your own existence rather than worrying about people who care about you, which I realize is more of a contradictory statement from a constructive point of view. But he said it's important to look into yourself, think about what you might do given the chance to relive that specific moment. And that became my line of thought for a good amount of time, for like 6 months, a year, the time that I knew him. I stopped attending college, which was the most sane thing to do at that point of time, to save time. I went out into the city. I came to Landmark a lot, like I said. Apart from the good part of reading books at Landmark, I used to visit all the shady places that you can think of in Bangalore. Some of them, I don't think I'm at liberty to mention them out loud. I have the liberty to pen it down, which I have. The other thing that happened around the same time is that I was short of money, like I said. So I tried to explore different ways of making money because my parents wouldn't send me funds. That's very simple. I started working part-time, and when that ran out, I started thinking what else could be done to make money, and did things that I'm not really proud of. One point of time, I remember a day when we were walking back to the hostel, one night in particular, Saahil was not sober. I had to pick him up. I was carrying his bag, went back to the hostel. The hostel warden and his associates caught us, and I was carrying the bag, which is like the stupidest thing that I've ever done. And once the contents of the bag were spilled out, I was asked to pack my bags because my parents were supposed to come in and escort me back to my home the next day. I went back into the room, sat down with this guy. And he asked me to tell my parents everything that had happened. I said, no, that's not really something that I can do. My father would freak out, my mom is very unpredictable with her moves. And he said it doesn't matter because the things that you do cannot really be erased or changed unless you decide to come clean about it. You cannot have a shred of dishonesty when you're trying to change something about your past. You have to tell people exactly what you've done. That's when you realize that you can accept yourself for what you have done and you can move on from there. And he made me write that list down. He said, he used to call me Roy. He said, Roy, it was a pencil and a piece of paper, if I remember correctly. No, not a pen. And he said, what are the things that you want to do in life? I said, I want to be a writer. That was based on... Can I just welcome someone? Okay, we have Roshan Jain amongst us, who is another good friend of mine. He's just come into town from Bombay, just for this event. I want to thank him. He's the founder of Pseudopedia, an organization to help people like me who want to do something else with their life. So thanks, Roshan. As I was saying, so we had that list which had to be filled out. I said I want to be a writer. He said, what else? I gave him a roadmap of everything that I wanted to do in life, and he made me write down and he made me carry that list with me everywhere I went. And he said it's important because it acts as a reminder of what you want to do in life. It's not just you can't really keep telling yourself I'm going to do this, and you're not really going to end up doing that at the end of the day unless you have a constant reminder. He was a live reminder of that statement. And unfortunately, things didn't really go as well as I'd hoped them to be. I wasn't bailed out of that trouble. I had to go back. Like I said, I was sent back for 6 months, and in those 6 months, I had a lot of time in my hands. I had a broken wrist, I had a functional laptop, and I had parents who really weren't interested in talking to me at that stage. So I decided to write. When I came back into town, I completely forgot about writing. 2010. And at the end of 2010, I realized not all of your problems are, your inner demons, what you think you're doing wrong is one element of all that's wrong in your life, but that's not everything. The external influences are present, and one such influence led me to a decision of moving out from that college and moving into a company that taught me more about discipline than I've ever learned in my life. So the guy who never woke up before 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I used to stay in my room with my packet of cigarettes, with my laptop, with my sitcoms. I used to wake up at 4, 5, stay up till 3, and go to sleep again. Wake up, go to the loo, get back, never step out of my room, get my stuff ordered through these guys. That guy was thrown into a world which asked him to work to make a living. And that company which I joined made me work on that schedule. I learned the importance of having discipline in your life. It's not just a word that you incorporate and decide to live by. It's something that tells you, you know what, you have to do this. There's no other way. And that helped me more than I could ever imagine. I started waking up on time. I started doing things the way humans do. He just had a realization. The next one that I'm planning to follow this up with is called Like Humans Do, which is, if you're making the connection, that's precisely the reason why. It's about the transition of a guy who walks out from the end of this book and becomes a man who later decides to write a book. Siddhant Roy is the name that I chose for the character in my book for a lot of reasons, mostly for the fact that Siddhant never makes decisions in his life. And Siddhant means decision. That's about it. If you're interested, I guess you can pick up a copy. I'm here to sign it for you. And Manjula here will tell you about how the rest of the evening proceeds.
Check. Right, I see the parallel lines happening between Shomprakash and his character for the book. Wouldn't that be a fantasy come true for most of us? If we could pen down what's happening in our life, it gets published and people read it. I think that's what has happened. I see panels happening there. A big round of applause for his life's experiences that has taught him to grow out of that rut and become something else. And here we've got a living example. Ladies and gentlemen, the house is now open for questions. Anything you want to ask Shom about his experiences while writing book? What made him